The Monon High Railroad Bridge straddles Deer Creek. It's technically abandoned. It's rickety, and the gaps between the railroad ties are wide. But you can still get there from the trails in the area, and a lot of people do. It's all over Instagram and Snapchat.
Kelsey and Libby went out there a lot. They were both into photography and stuff. They've got all kinds of pictures that they used to go out there and take and do. So it wasn't uncommon. And we knew that there had been some other kids out there because when she had asked, Kelsey had talked to her friend, and she was out there. As a matter of fact, I thought when they went that she was still there. Derek called.
Remember, he's Kelsey and Libby's dad.
It was about 3:30. He said, I'm here at the trailhead, and Libby's not answering her phone. He said, I don't know what's going on, and that he was going to walk around. And he said, you call and see if she answers for you. So I started calling and texting, and nothing happened. So Tara
is Libby's aunt.
And so Tara, I said, hey, you try. So we were taking turns trying and texting and calling, and there was no answer or anything. So by a little before 4, I said, we probably need to go look for him. And Tara said, well, I'll go on. And I called Mike at work and said, Libby, they're out the trails and they're not answering. Libby's not answering her phone. We're going to go and start looking for him. And he said, well, let me finish up here and I'll be there. So I thought, well, there's 2 different ways if they decided to walk home that they could have come. So we drove both different ways from there that they could have possibly walked. And they weren't there, so then we got to the trailhead and I parked. At that time there were several cars there, and I had to park across the road in kind of the ditch.
And my phone started to ring, but I wasn't paying attention to it. It was on the other side of the room charging. And then it rang again, so I was like, okay, something must be wrong. So I went over and checked it. It was my grandma, and she was freaking out. She couldn't find Libby anywhere, and she wasn't answering her phone. It was really unlike Libby to do something like that. So I think in my mind, I was like, oh, she lost her phone, or she must have fallen on the other side of the bridge, because I know that they probably crossed it, because I know Libby, but I didn't think that Abby would have, so that was a little weird to me. But I was sure that there was a logical explanation, and it was just some fluke that happened.
Libby's mom, Carrie, at work back in Kentucky, gets a call.
While Kelsey and I would talk back and forth with Snapchat or Messenger or whatever, it was not normal for her to call me. But I was at work, and we're not supposed to be on our phones, so I sent her to voicemail, and I immediately hid a text. I'm about to get off work, I'll call you in just a minute, or something to that effect. And she sent me a message immediately back that said, call me right now. It's an emergency, or it's important, very important, or something. So I just, without even thinking, grabbed up my stuff and clocked out, told him I was leaving, and I still probably had 5 minutes left, whatever. I didn't care. I got out to the car, and I called her back. And she, it's almost funny now. She said, actually, I think I laughed when she said it to me. She said, have you seen Libby? No, I'm 265 miles away. And I kind of, no, I haven't seen Libby. What are you talking about? And she said, Mom, we can't find Libby. And honestly, I fell to my knees. What do you mean you can't find Libby?
Back in Delphi, while Anna Williams is wrapping up a shift waiting tables, her phone is ringing and ringing and ringing. Anna is Abby's mom. She had her when she was 19, and in many ways, the two of them grew up together. And some of those missed calls are from Libby's grandmother, Becky Patty.
Because I'd seen missed calls, and that was 5:30. It was kind of early in the evening. And she was like, the girls were out on a walk, and just a whole jarble of things going on. She's like, but we're down at the sheriff's department. I'm like, okay, I'm on my way, and checked out the couple of customers I had. And I remember feeling a slight bit like strange, but not like overly panicked. I just told one of the girls, I was like, Abby and Libby were out on a walk, and apparently they're missing. I got to go down to the sheriff's department. She's like, okay, well, let us know what's going on. And, just make sure everything's okay. And I'm like, yeah, no problem. See you in a little while. I don't know if I'll be back tonight, but, I'll see what I can do.
Abby's grandmother, Diane Erskine, was already having a rough day.
So I went to work, and before I left work, one of my coworkers said, you don't seem yourself today. Is everything okay? And I said, well, no, actually, I lost my friend, Janie, today. And the kids called her Aunt Janie. She never had any children of her own, so she kind of adopted our family. And just before I got home, Anna called and said, I just want you to know the girls are missing. And I knew when she said the girls, she was talking about Abby and Libby, because I knew that Abby had gone to spend the night.
Libby's family was scattered across Carroll County. Kelsey at her boyfriend Chase's house, and Becky on the way to the bridge with Libby's uncle, Cody.
I was like, there's nothing wrong. There has to be nothing wrong. It's just Grandma overreacting like always. Then me and Cody crossed the bridge, and we're looking in the woods, and we couldn't find them anywhere. That's when I started to realize something was really wrong. I was yelling her name so that she could hear me, and I hope that she did hear us searching. But we were doing everything we could to see if they were down in the areas we thought they would be.
Mike Patty is Libby's grandfather and Becky's husband. He's a half an hour away at work in Lafayette.
I didn't realize that the urgency of it. It was like, okay, Libby's not answering her phone, or either it went dead, or she's out running around with a bunch of kids, doing whatever. But I did wrap up. It came straight there. And like I said, I started walking the trails as well. And then I called the police. And literally within minutes, by the time I called them and said, hey, we got a situation here, we need some help, I got back on the trails and started walking up towards the Freedom Bridge.
The Freedom Bridge is a completely separate bridge from the one at the center of this story. It straddles the Hoosier Heartland Highway and isn't far from where Abby and Libby were dropped off.
And by the time I got to the Freedom Bridge, I ran into two officers that was out there walking it as well. So they reacted, just really quick. And continued walking the trails, and then ended up meeting back up at the police station at some point because I knew Becky was there.
So we're back here in CNN Center in our production room. And Barb, I don't know about you, but one of the things that's striking to me when you hear these family members talking about those first couple hours is that there are varying levels of concern. And I said earlier to someone, I can't help but think about my parents. If it were me, there would be two very different approaches. My dad would be calm, cool, and collected. My mother would be in a state of mania.
And some of that is personality. I mean, in this case, we have Anna, who isn't real concerned at this point. She's a little concerned, but she thinks maybe they're lost. It'll all work out. Mike is kind of feeling the same way. All right, I'm on my way, but this will probably resolve itself.
And then you have Kelsey, Libby's sister, who is like, no, there's something not right here. This is odd. And one of the things that jumps out to me about that is that usually the people that are younger, and Kelsey is how old at this point? 16, 17. They're usually the ones that are saying, no, it's fine. Mom, you're freaking out. Everything's going to be fine. So it was kind of striking that her first thought was, no, there's something not right here.
And then you have these two grandmothers, Diane already having a bad day, having lost the family friend, Aunt Janie, just that morning to cancer. And Becky, who, for what I understand, she's kind of prone to freaking out. She's completely freaking out at this point.
And so this is the backdrop and the precursor to, as everybody kind of makes their way into the woods that evening to start this frantic search.
Yes.
Hey everyone, it's Dan. Simply Safe Home Security is the highest level of security you can have, with police dispatch up to 350% faster than a normal burglar alarm. With Simply Safe, you get comprehensive protection for your home. Outdoor cameras and doorbells alert you to anyone approaching your home, and entry, motion, and glass break sensors guard the inside. If there's a break-in, they use real video evidence to give police an eyewitness account of the crime. Plus, Simply Safe protects your home from fire, water damage, and carbon monoxide poisoning too. And it's all monitored 24/7 by live security professionals. You can set it up yourself, no tools needed, or they can do it for you. It's only 50 cents per day with no contracts. You'll get free shipping and a 60-day risk-free trial. You've got nothing to lose. Go now and be sure you go to simplysafe.com/DTH so that they know we sent you. That's simplysafe.com/DTH.
Part 2. Libby's afraid of the dark.
You're amazed. When he picked me up and we went out to the trails, we were sitting there in the truck for a little bit, and you could just see little lights everywhere. It was just like the stars in the sky, you know? And I said, look at this. Look how many people are out here looking.
So here's where the Delphi phone tree is about to really take off.
Right.
And people are going to start notifying other people outside of the family, friends, acquaintances, that something's wrong here.
And I'm glad you mentioned that phone tree, because in a town like Delphi, 3,000 people, it does not take long for phones to start lighting up. Because Brenda calls Lisa, who calls, Christine, and before you know it, everybody in town knows there's something wrong.
And Delphi's known for this volunteer spirit. So you have a lot of people who are now interested, people who don't even know these families, who are now interested in wanting to come out and help in some way.
And I think that as these families have kind of moved into, that area around the bridge, Becky mentions, seeing all the volunteers, the more people that get involved in this thing can only ramp up the concern and the panic on the part of the families.
Right.
Because now they've got the whole town involved.
And people are posting on Facebook, 2 girls are missing. It's all over Twitter. It's all over Instagram, Snapchat. And this is also where Libby's phone is going to come into play.
And that's because we learn for the first time about some Snapchat photos, which we'll get into later. But this is kind of the first time we hear about those.
I think things started getting posted on some social media, and of course by this time it's now dark, and people started coming out of the woodwork around town. We were looking, flashlights were lit up, looking up and down alleys and streets, and we went all around looking, went back out to the trails, and as the night progressed, went back to the police station. I think I dropped Becky off, and then her and Kelsey were going through, I think, some of the social media stuff, trying to look at computers or iPads or iPods or anything we had, trying to look for any information.
When did you become aware of the Snapchat photos?
It was that evening. I think Kelsey's the one that showed me, because I didn't have Snapchat, because she had gone on to work and then we had to call her back. And so I think she saw it. And she said, well, I do know this. So we had seen it while we were at the police station. It was that night.
What did you think of those 2 images?